All right, what's up?
Hey man. So so I saw
Godzilla.
Godzilla versus Kong
So
last
did
night.
I. Yeah.
It here's the thing. I have such mixed feelings about it because it really did hit the spot when it comes to like watching big monsters beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
But also like I think it's really hard to debate that Mecha Godzilla was a fucking waste of time. And like he served no purpose at all. Literally zero purpose.
I mean, I was watching it and I somewhat felt this way about when we were. Did you see King of the Monsters when he
I've
fought
seen I've seen
Ghidorah?
all of the new, even like King Kong Skull Island. Like I've seen
Okay.
them all up to
Okay.
this point.
I it bothers me because you're right. Like CGI wise, A plus. Like the action scenes, A plus. What bothers me is how like with 2014 Godzilla, the first one that started all of this, it was like this like idea that like, hey guys, we're gonna do a very real world take on like what if all of a sudden a giant fucking lizard like
Yeah.
Godzilla revealed himself to the planet, like, and everything was realistic looking. All the military had like modern realistic gear and everything. And that was one of the cool things about it. I remember like with the 2014 Godzilla, the only real complaint anyone had with the movie was the lack of Godzilla. Like you got to see him for the
Yeah.
end fight, but no one was over
Yeah.
here going, "Where's the fake gravity defying hovercrafts?" Like what, a
Cool.
Godzilla movie
So
without those? Like, are you kidding me?
that specific plot point is actually my biggest gripe because they go from show telling you that apparently the Earth is hollow and Titans are born there, and they espouse that as a theory, right?
Right.
Because the guys that walk in are technically already there with Alexander Skarsgård's character.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, you have this theory about the Earth being hollow and all Titans come from there, and he's like, yeah, it's a theory. I've like my brother died doing this thing,
Didn't they
and he's like,
mention it in
did they mention the other ones?
King of the Monsters? Like, where was it they went under the water and found Godzilla's like hidden
Well,
volcano
they found
temple?
this like Atlantis place, like a
Yeah.
sunken civilization, and that made way more sense to me than this hidden world thing.
Then
Like
Journey to the
it made
Center of
more
the
sense.
Earth with Dwayne the Rock
Yeah,
Johnson. Like, yeah,
and
like
the gravity inverts, and I was like, what are you fucking talking about?
why
Like,
would so are they on the
what is
ceiling?
happening?
Like, yeah, like they
What
weren't.
didn't make sense to me either was they're inside of a ship, and the ship itself, this is all that they say. They say that the ship can survive the gravity change. I'm like, great. The people inside of it can't.
Yeah,
Like, gravity is still going to affect them. And like when gravity inverts and they're in these harnesses that hold them into the seat, and then it just goes, they're going to get sliced into five pieces and die
yeah,
because that's from what they described it. It's all of the Earth's gravity in a smaller space that completely inverts itself when you get to a certain point. So
yeah.
I was like, yeah, you could make a ship that could survive that, but everyone inside would die every time.
It's
Like
just
you get
more,
it there.
dude. It seems like after the 2014 Godzilla, they all came back to like the conference room and went, "All right, so we're giving up on realism, right? Like fuck that for the rest of these
Yeah.
movies." Like because it's more of this Hollywood attitude, and it's the same thing that got us dropping bombs in Star Wars. It's like when it comes to shit like this, whether it's Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Godzilla, at a certain point they go, "Hey guys, like should we really be going with this route with the gravity thing?" And they're like, well, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's getting us our cool spaceship hovercraft scene. Yeah, but does it really make sense? It doesn't have to make sense, man. We're doing a movie about a giant lizard and gorilla. But that's the
Yeah.
thing that I think they're fucking up is like certain cases you can get away with not giving a shit. Like, and this might be one of them. But in other cases, it's really fucking them hard when it comes to like the movies that have deep fan followings. And it's like I'm like, you guys gotta understand your target market is people like me who are grown ass adults who are not morons, and if I see
Yeah.
bombs drop in space, I'm going to be insulted. My intellect is going to be
Yeah.
insulted. It's like your
If I
target.
don't see the bombs like go away like squid tentacles, then
Yeah.
I'm mad.
Yeah, like you gotta understand, it's like they're still operating under this notion of like our target market is dumb little kids. It's like it's not anymore, man. Star Wars, all this shit's been around for a long enough time period for all the people who fell in love with it as kids. We're grown ass adults now, and we're not that stupid anymore. You know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
reason we should be the target market and not the fucking little kids is because little kids don't have their own fucking bank accounts. I
No,
do.
that's something I think about a lot. I'm like,
Like,
why are you guys doing this? Like, I'm already going to spend the money to see this.
yeah,
So make it for me because I'm the
yeah.
one who's gonna pay for it.
Fuck them. Like,
Yeah.
Like they're ruining the little kids are ruining everything, dude. That's why Star
Yeah.
Wars is getting so fucking like down. Like the violence is going away and shit. And
Yep.
like I didn't see
Disney can't
one.
have limbs getting cut off. Like
Yeah, dude.
what?
I was
That's
gonna
that's
say
iconic Star
I
Wars.
didn't see a single limb get cut off in any of those Star Wars movies. I saw people get
You know
stabbed,
Kylo
sure,
would have
but
lost a limb
like
if
at
it had
some
been made
point,
by
yeah.
Lucas.
Like
You
yeah,
know, if he
like
had made that character, he would have like lost his leg or something
yeah.
fighting Rey.
No one
And
got
it
their
wouldn't have been
head.
that big a deal.
No one got their head cut off. No one burned alive on the side of a
No.
volcano. Like it's like, not to just take the conversation back to Star Wars, but like all these thoughts
Just to
came
that kind of thing.
yeah, all these thoughts came rushing back to me when I was watching this Godzilla movie, and I'm like, yo, making movies for children, the dumbass children are ruining this shit because like, and it's also just like a changing of the times because when we were kids no one gave a fuck. They were like, yeah,
Yeah.
show these kids a grown man burning alive, no one cares.
Yeah, I watched
Nowadays,
Alien with my dad when I was 6. So it's
yeah,
like, yeah, they didn't care.
nowadays they're like, we have to protect the children, and I'm like, yo, fuck the children, like for real,
Yeah, they'll be
not like fuck the
fine.
children, but you
Yeah,
know, like
don't do that.
don't
Don't
do
do
that.
that.
Yeah, like,
Or you
like
can tell them to fuck off. That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, like
Like,
seriously, it's happening right now. That's the argument with a lot of different shit that's in production right now. He-Man is one of them. The target market for that right now, and once again, I'm not trying to get too off topic, but the target market for that right now is 100% grown ass adults. Like it's one, yeah, it's like
I mean, it's the same thing that they're doing with Batman, I think, and they've got a lot more time to work on Batman from going from like, I mean, he really wasn't ever a kid's character when you go back in time. He
you
was
go
more of
far
a
enough,
young
yeah,
adult
he was,
character.
but I mean,
If you
let's
go
look at Adam
way
West
back,
Batman, like in the
yeah,
60s, yeah, like yeah.
but like more like our child. I'm talking more like from the 90s
Oh
to
sure,
now,
yeah,
from where we would have seen it. And it went from cartoony but still dark to dark and
yeah,
then to just straight up grim. And that's sort of perfect as an evolutionary chain for Batman because he is grim. And they've
sure.
kept Batman alive.
I
Some have
still don't
fucked
want
up,
him to
but
just kill people blatantly, but
no. See,
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
thing. I think
yeah.
there's a really fine line that people have
That's
trouble walking,
there, yeah, and
especially in the
that's
comics, man.
it's
Holy
because
shit.
it is such a fine line, and to tread a fine line like that in the way that we're talking about, it requires an extra level of attention being paid to the thing. It requires an extra amount of work, and I just see it as
Right.
laziness. They're like, yo, I could put in all the work in order to tread this fine line. Or I could just, make it easier on myself and flip over to one of the sides. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Go full grimdark or go can't be childish. And
And that just destroys it destroys those kinds of characters
yeah,
who have such strong bases in being on the line,
yeah,
and sort of the whole point of them is to walk that line. Like,
yeah,
you're kind of supposed to question sometimes, is Batman a hero? You're
yeah,
supposed to go, I don't know, man, maybe
yeah.
not.
Maybe
Maybe
not.
he's just a really nice asshole. Like, you
For
just
sure.
don't
Like,
know.
oh shit,
Yeah,
I can't fucking. The lighting in
Spawn.
this room is fucking. Yeah,
I could tell right from the red cape. Dude, I've been okay. So this is just sort of off topic, but not really. I've been doing a deep ass dive into DC.
yeah.
Like, I found this YouTube channel and I found another YouTube channel, and all they do is break down
Why
who
you've
these
not
characters
watched the
are.
Snyder Cut by now, I don't fucking
I
know.
think I'm
But
psyching myself up to that world. Like,
yeah,
I want to be as invested as some of the fans are. Like,
yeah,
now I'm invested in Darkseid because I know his whole story. I
yeah,
know everything about him. And he's a bad guy. He's
yeah,
literally a god who killed a bunch of gods to be an evil god because he thought they weren't evil enough,
yeah,
basically. Like, he was like, look, if you're gonna rule us, then rule us. And they were
yeah,
like, we just want you to pray to us. And he's like, well, then I'll kill you all and then I'll be you. And I don't
yeah,
need your prayers. I'll just take your worlds. That's
yeah,
Darkseid. So
yeah.
that better feel like that. And then
It
Steppenwolf
does.
is like, he's like an amalgam of that, but also with like like undying loyalty and also absolute abject terror of Darkseid.
Yeah,
Like, he is his lieutenant, but like more of like a forced lieutenant. Like, if he
yeah,
decided he didn't want to be a lieutenant, he would just omega beam him into dust. So he's
yeah,
like, I can't say no. Like, I
yeah,
have to do these things.
yeah.
Really cool. DC's so
They do
cool.
that.
And then
They
when
do
you read
that
about how they
well.
fuck it up.
They do that well in Snyder Cut. So, one last thing on that, and then we're gonna. No, we're just gonna save that for the Snyder Cut video when
Yeah,
you
we'll
finally
save
watch
that.
it. So with were you a little disappointed in Godzilla? So when I as soon as I knew, because like I said, I'm not a dumb child. So as soon as I knew that it was Mecha Godzilla,
Yeah.
uh, what were you?
Dude, I knew from the time the steam was rising up from that thing, I go, oh, that's Mecha Godzilla, dude. I can tell. It looked like a coiled lizard.
Yeah. Well, I was pretty sure that's what it was gonna be. And I'm sitting here going, yo, I kind of think it should be the same like version of Mecha Godzilla we saw at the end of Ready Player One. Like I think that should just
Yeah,
be that design. It wasn't, but
no,
oh
it would have been
well.
cooler if it was. This looked weird and it looked weaker. It
Yeah,
didn't have metal plates on it, you know, like it also had this weird trope that movies do where it's copied from a creature who, I mean, inherently is limitlessly powerful. He charges himself with radiation.
yeah.
Therefore, the more of it he's exposed to, the stronger he is. But Mechagodzilla just has a battery in him. Like, wouldn't there be an explicit limit to how much energy he could
Well,
expel
that's
versus
that's the thing,
Godzilla?
dude. Because with this movie, you got to remember she emailed him the power source
That's
from the
right. And
center of
they made it in like 10 minutes.
yeah, and
It's
then
crazy.
that primordial power source caused, I guess, the ghost of Ghidorah from inside his skull that they were operating to take possession of Mecha. Dude, yeah, within like 60 seconds, that movie just went from like, okay, this is ridiculous, but I'm enjoying it, to just completely off the wall bananas. Like they said,
You know
hey
what would
guys,
have been way
whatever
better?
fucks we have left, throw them out the goddamn
Yeah,
window
just let's
because,
go.
like,
I was
oh
really
man,
hoping that the LinkedIn guy was going to basically be incapable of having his consciousness expanded to that level, like to go from being this big to being a skyscraper would
yeah,
just like fry his brain. And I
yeah,
thought that it would just turn him feral. That's what I was hoping for. Was
yeah.
that he was going to be piloting it and
But that
fighting
would
and then just like bleed out of his ear or
that
something
wouldn't
and
work either, because if they needed to turn it
yeah,
off, they'd just send someone down there to go shoot him in the
just
head.
blow his
Like,
head off, right?
yeah,
So yeah,
like,
I thought about that too. I was like, oh, that's easy shutdown. Just send a guy with a gun and
yeah.
Mecha
So
Godzilla's not in the compounds.
yeah, so yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it was like so yeah. It's like, first of all, they took a photo of the energy source, and then they emailed that photo, and then they had it. Like,
Bro, you know what was even
who
funnier too
who
is
did
that
that? Who wrote this? I
the
need to just
daughter, who wasn't a bad person, like for the whole movie was okay. Here's my reasoning for that, by the way, for anybody who disagrees.
what?
When the little girl was trapped with her mom in that door where the door jammed and it was flooding with water, and then they let her out. The first thing that asshole chick did was check to see if the kid was okay. So I'm just gonna leave that there for everybody to go, oh, she was a piece of shit. I think she was manipulated by her dad and then was scared and was trying to leave. And
We
they
talked.
just had Kong crush the shit out of her ship. Like that was so unnecessary that none of the people on the ship were bad people. They were all just employees. And
Yeah.
like the daughter who was just trying to leave,
Oh.
obviously, who wouldn't want to leave that place. She's just trying to get the fuck out of there. And Kong just grabs their ship, looks them in the eye, and then and
Yeah.
throws them to the ground. I was like, wow, you guys are really painting a weird picture of Kong here.
Yeah.
Like you shot at him with what are essentially paintballs, and he goes, ow. And then he kills you all. Like, what? He didn't even do that to the people in Kong Island who shot him a lot and
Yeah.
shot bombs at him. He didn't even do that.
Yeah.
Like, only in the very beginning did he do that. And he didn't know who you were. Metal birds were flying around him. And he was
Yeah.
just swatting them. When he knew they were people, he stopped attacking them. I'm
Yeah.
just putting that out there too.
Yeah.
So like they didn't know what the fuck to do with Kong.
No.
But when Kong got his ass kicked by Godzilla, everybody had to be like, okay, at
Yeah.
least they did that. Like
Yeah.
there's no way he's gonna win that fight, axe or
Dude,
not.
we came back into work, and like my one buddy comes in. So me and my one buddy, the one you talked to when I was in California, we're sitting there, we're already kind of talking about the movie. And without it being said, we were both just kind of like Team Godzilla. And
Yeah,
then our other buddy came, the one that we kind of like, the one we were talking to you about.
yeah.
He came in, and he just goes something about. So he just starts saying something like Kong, and we're just like,
Oh,
yeah, he got his ass kicked. Like he's supposed. Like, dude, I'm
yeah.
sorry, but like, fuck Kong.
Who
Like,
walked in there thinking Kong was gonna win?
yeah,
Like, let's look over the facts here. Kong's a big monkey. He's a big ape. I'm sorry. He
yeah,
can break buildings and smash shit. But guess what? Godzilla can do all of that, and he also is covered in armor plating, has radiation spikes that allow him to shoot laser beams. Let's talk about the laser beam scene for a second and realize how royally fucked Kong was if Godzilla was trying to kill him. Because he could shoot those beams literally endlessly. They
yeah,
had no reach limit. They would cross the whole city and just scythe through buildings.
yeah,
I mean, he barely got out of that with his life. You know,
yeah.
if Godzilla was aiming for him, he wouldn't have survived.
Dude, I like the part where Kong was like, he's up high on one of the skyscrapers, and Godzilla's roaming below looking for him. So Kong throws
He
some
was like,
piece of
yeah,
debris, Godzilla turns to look at what made the noise, and Kong jumps onto those spikes on his back. And I'm like, well, Kong just impaled himself on
I was
Godzilla,
thinking
and
that
he's
too.
dead.
I go, well,
Like,
he just died.
yeah, yeah, like
We're talking about, and this to keep
this
this so
no
everybody understands,
sense, no
the axe that
sense
he's using
is one of
that can
those.
pierce Godzilla is
Yeah,
made of those. And he
yeah.
just like was like, whatever.
Yeah, like no sense. They gave zero fucks with this
They
movie,
didn't
dude.
care at all.
They threw that shit way out. They were like, "Hey guys, if any of you thought we were gonna give a flying fuck, you were
Boy, were
not."
you wrong.
Yeah, like we're here to do
And
one thing: big monkey punch big lizard and vice versa. That's it. Like,
bro, when he had Kong on the ground and he was standing on his chest, I just remember sitting there going, well, man, you are so done. There's nothing you can do. Literally nothing you can do. I watched him shoot radiation beams out of his body and melt 3 dragon heads. Like,
yeah,
you're not going to do shit against him. And by the way, I don't know if anybody else thought of this. That was not even Godzilla's like Mach 10 form. That was his base form. He didn't do shit else than just fist fight and cast a couple beams. We know he has other abilities, like
yeah,
that tail swipe. If he fully tail swipes you,
yeah.
remember the creatures with the spikes from the first movie? I forget what they're called.
The Mutos.
The Mutos. Remember? Okay, so remember when he swung his tail in that one Muto that was twice the size of King Kong and smashed the fuck out of it against a skyscraper and
Yeah,
instantly killed it?
yeah.
You telling me he couldn't have done that to Kong like 50 times? He
Kong
could
was
have gotten him
bigger than that
so
thing,
many
I think,
times.
but still,
He
like,
was bulkier, but he
dude,
was about the same height.
I'm watching this movie just like, yo, did Michael Bay make this movie? Like, there is a giant gorilla and a giant lizard fighting on an aircraft. Like, the fact that aircraft carrier didn't just immediately sink, like,
Other thing, dude, holy
like,
shit, those things are not meant to carry 50,000 tons of gorilla across the ocean.
dude, like when they both, I saw that in the trailer. I saw that they're standing on an aircraft carrier fighting. I'm like, I feel like this is gonna be a really. First of all, I was like, Kong's dead. Like, because like if he fall, Godzilla water home field advantage to Godzilla. Like, he's
He
dead.
literally only survived because of plot armor. He
Yeah,
survived because plot armor allowed depth charges to work differently than they work in real life.
sure.
Like
Yeah,
they exploded so high out of the water. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not how it works.
yeah.
Like I think they go really far down and then when they explode, it's like bubbles because they were really far down. They didn't shoot a 700-kilometer geyser out of the water.
But that's
That
the
would be an
thing.
extremely impressive
That's
weapon.
the thing, man. Like, I feel like there was just somebody, maybe the director, maybe somebody else. There was somebody on this movie that anytime like someone came and told them like, all right, so the depth charges are gonna go down, and then we're gonna see some poops. And then
Yeah,
just and then the guy was just the director, whoever. There was maybe one or two guys that were just like, okay, so you're telling me there's just gonna be like a. They're like,
yeah,
yeah, that's how death charges work.
yeah.
Is there any way we could have them go? And they're like, well, that's not how they work. He goes, yeah, but like, have you seen the general theme of this movie? Like,
It's like it's not about how things work.
yeah, like
They were literally those explosions. I kept
later on
thinking,
in
I
the
was like,
scene, they're
were
gonna
those the
email a
nuclear
power
depth
source.
charges?
So I mean,
Yeah,
like,
we
let's
can we
just.
can build power sources from things we only theorized about. Let's put that. Let's take that
That'd be
concept
like,
alone.
dude, that'd
If
be
all
like,
you have to do is think about it and then you can create it, there would be no limit to what we could do with
dude,
power.
that'd
Like,
be like if your Xbox controller was getting low, so I just took a picture of a battery and sent it to you, and you were like, "Thanks, dude." Like,
thanks, man, fully charged. Like,
what fucking morons did this?
it was the
Like,
dumbest shit.
oh my god! And then
Okay, dude. The other thing,
what
the
was it?
Hollow Earth. There's nothing there.
What was it that took over Mechagodzilla? Like, we got to kind of discuss that a little bit.
Ghidorah, I guess.
But it's
I
just a skull. Like, there's no brain left. Like, it's a
that's what,
skull.
yeah.
Like, the bones
There's
have a
nothing.
will of their own. What are they? The bones of power from Mordor? Like
I
forged
was
in the
actually
fires of
Sauron.
Mount Doom. Like, yeah, like
What they actually did was summon a Balrog, and it just took over Mecha. He
they
was like,
just,
"Ah, fuck everybody."
dude. I think it was a combination of like, so Godzilla 2014 did pretty good, but they were like, "Yo, we want more Godzilla." So then they did Kong Skull Island. You said you watched it, but from my
Yeah,
understanding, barely anybody gave a fuck about that. Like, and they were like, "We'll
I
pay
mean, it
attention
wasn't
when."
very good.
But they were like, "We'll pay attention when he's fighting Godzilla, and not a moment before." And then they did Godzilla King of the Monsters, which should have been really great, but it also kind
Yeah.
of veered into that realm of ridiculousness and just
Yep.
yeah. And
With the monster collar, they had a You know what that thing was? Just to ruin it for everybody. If anybody thought that thing was cool, let's just ruin it. That was a cell phone and/or a monster baby monitor. That's what that was. They invented a baby monitor for monsters. They were like, "Hey, let's put on the sound of this baby crying." And then Ghidorah comes running, and they're like, "Hey, guess what? That worked." That was all that it did. That was the stupidest thing I have ever seen in my life. Couldn't they have literally done anything else? Like, they wasted that much time creating a device to communicate with monsters, and it didn't even communicate with them. All it did was summon them. You created the absolute worst thing. Imagine that you're like a warlock who summons demons, right? And the objective was to bind them to your will. But the only thing you managed to do
Was
was
bring
open
them.
a portal directly to Satan. And then he walked out and was like, "What?" And you were like, I didn't have a plan for this part. That was
Yeah,
the whole device.
yeah,
Satan was Ghidorah, and he literally showed up. And they were just like, "Oops." Like,
yeah,
what the
yeah.
fuck, dude?
Oops. Yeah, dude. And so then, like, then this it came time for this movie, and the realism's already starting to be thrown to the wind. COVID's got the film industry like just scraping on, and I think they just went, "Yo, fuck it." Like what you're doing right now. I think the director went,
Yep.
"Fuck it." Like, fuck
He
it.
was like, "Hold up."
Every time someone came to him with an idea, he was just like, greenlit. Like, I don't care what it is, just fucking like,
The stuff that they let them do in that movie.
oh my god.
Can we have to talk about the fact that there were three characters in that movie that did nothing and didn't need to exist at all. And those were, you know who they were. The fucking people who were there who didn't do anything. You remember the part where that kid hacked the signal to shut down Mechagodzilla, but then it turns out that they didn't need to do that because all they needed to do was have Godzilla breathe radiation breath under Kong's axe. And he hacks that bitch into 17 pieces.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't need to shut him down to do that. He could have been full on berserker mode. He sliced his arm off in one swing.
Yeah.
There's nothing he could do to stop him at that point.
Yeah.
It was so dumb. Also,
Yeah.
Godzilla's radiation breath, like, is the hottest substance that can be produced. It's like a beam of concentrated radiation that just destroys things on a molecular level. And the Mechagodzilla had a laser beam. There's like no way they could have even copied Godzilla's breath because
No.
it's so niche and specific. That why would their laser beam immediately be 5,000 times stronger than Godzilla's? He's the king of the
plot.
monsters.
Because
Plot,
movie.
yeah, plot beam. That's what it was. It was a
Yeah.
plot laser.
Because of movie. Yeah.
Plot
dude.
lasers can cut through everything.
Dude, I love when you were just like those three useless characters, and they are, you know who they are. Like,
Here they are.
dude.
Anybody who watches it will go, okay.
I like how the one dude, he works at the Apex company, and he has a podcast about how he's gonna go steal shit from work. Like, that'd be like if I got a job at the NSA, but I was doing this YouTube channel and putting out regular videos. Like, all right, so guys, so here's what I saw classified today. Like, I would be fired so fast. Like, you ever
No,
watch
dude, your door would open up back there, and two guys in black suits would be like, "You're coming with us," and then we'd never hear from you again.
Dude, you ever watch pitch meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I love the one for this movie because he's like, oh wow, like don't isn't security at this place aware that this guy is running a podcast about how he steals shit from work? And they go, no, this place has pretty lax security, and that's going to be a recurring theme throughout the whole movie. Why is that? Because if this place had competent security, this is really slow the plot down. Like,
really slow. How they walked in, bro. The destruction zone where Godzilla first attacked the Apex facility. There were tons and tons of random hallways and doors that were suddenly just open to the world because Godzilla blew a crater that opened those doors.
Yeah.
And they didn't put one guy to stand out there with a gun and be like, you can't come up here where all the doors are. They didn't care at all that there were 50 doors to everywhere in the facility right there that they were still using. And they were just like,
Yeah.
This was the Death Star all over again. Like, you could just walk onto the Death Star. In fact, this is totally canon. If you get captured by the Death Star, there is a 50% chance that they won't even know that they captured you, as shown by Luke, Han, Leia, or Luke, Obi-Wan, Han, Chewbacca, C-3PO, and R2-D2, all just walking out of the ship, beating up a couple of stormtroopers. The three that were there, lucky them. Yeah. And then, that's ridiculous. That's the same level of stupidity. We have this massive facility. We put two guards.
Yeah, they took their uniforms and then they came down. They were just like, it was empty. Like, yeah, we just found this empty ship just driving itself around in outer space. Like, I don't know. But anyway.
You wouldn't check. Yeah. Like, the whole crew wouldn't go in. And then beyond that, man, I like to think.
Did those guards never wake up? Or did they straight? Did
Yeah,
Luke and them straight murder them? Like, are they just in the?
yeah, that right? Did he just
Yeah,
kill him? Like,
yeah,
what kind of Jedi is that?
yeah. Yeah, just get real quick here, you know.
I
Damn.
feel like that's what a normal person would do, right? Like if you think about it, you're flying in space and like essentially the Roman Empire, and you're a Gaul. Let's just say everybody's a Gaul, but the Roman Empire, and you're like, oh shit, the Romans, and you have a laser sword, and like they don't, and you don't know like about the Jedi. There's a guy with you who knows everything about the Jedi, but he hasn't told you much yet. So like, two stormtroopers come on, and to you, that's like the epitome of evil, right? And you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, wouldn't that be what you do? And then like he'd be like, hey, you're not supposed to do that, and you'd be like, I didn't know, you didn't tell me that. Like,
Yeah, you just gave me a laser sword and
yeah,
like
you gave me a laser sword and didn't give me any
you
instructions.
gave me
Like,
a laser sword. They were coming in here to fuck me up. I did what I had to do. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm not apologizing, maybe later, but I didn't know any of that yet. So
yeah, yeah, like. Don't give me
oh
the
man,
fucking laser sword and then not to like if there's rules that go with it, like, yeah, I don't
that
know.
something about anything like Godzilla, where you have this giant monster roaming around, and so people are like, how do we control this? I don't
You
know. We
don't?
don't try to do that with hurricanes. Like, I
Yeah.
think people don't think about what we would really do as humans if something like that existed. And what we would
Well,
really
they
do is
stopped.
just cross
That's
our
what this.
fingers and go,
Yeah.
like,
That's what this whole movie series is
yeah,
supposed to be, and
they
they
left
just
us
gave
alone.
up on that. Like, yeah, like the whole movie series was supposed to be like a realistic take on what if a creature like
Yeah,
this revealed itself, and they just abandoned that after the first one. They were like, fuck that, like, because you know what they did
ridiculous.
is, it's exactly what you said. They realized that's not good movie making material because it's exactly like what you said. Like, if Godzilla, a bit
Yeah.
like this Godzilla, revealed himself, it's literally just cross your fingers and hope he never decides to
Yeah.
murder us. Like,
We learned this is what would happen, okay? And this is why I know this is true. As soon as we found out that his breath and his entire anatomy was based on radiation absorption, we would give up immediately trying to kill him, because the only weapon we're aware of that could destroy something that enormous is completely powered by radiation.
yeah,
And so we're hoping that the heat of it would kill him, but really we know it won't, because at a certain concentration, radiation itself will just break you apart into pieces. So if he can just be near the core of something that will rip you apart molecularly, he can also go sit in an open fire and it wouldn't hurt him, because like
yeah,
fucking why would it? Like,
yeah, yeah,
so they know that's not going to work.
yeah.
It
So
would take two. Look, we're not even scientists, man, and we figured that out. If it was two scientists who study how nuclear fusion works and how all of that works, 5 minutes after they found out what he did, they'd be like, everybody go home, there's nothing we can do.
yeah,
They'd be like,
like,
what? Nothing? They'd be like, no, just go home. Like, hope he doesn't step on your house,
yeah,
basically. Like, go
yeah.
home. What are we supposed to do?
Yeah, we'll try to keep him in the ocean, like, I guess, you know
We'll
what I
try
mean?
our best.
Yeah, like,
We built a big fence, but honestly, it's fucking, you can just rip that shit down.
just start like leaving trails of fucking fish, like, come this way, like, here's your food,
Yeah,
like.
just get a giant Godzilla female cutout and just sail it around the ocean. Just like, hey, come this way. All right. Like, that's the best we can do, man.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, since we're gonna start trying to stick to one topic per video, I think we've pretty much covered this. On a scale of 1 to 10, what did you think of it? Like,
I'm gonna give it I'll give it a 5, okay?
okay,
Because genuinely the
a shiny
combat
five,
was super. Yeah,
like a
this
shiny.
the combat was so cool. It
Yeah,
really was cool.
yeah.
The CGI for Godzilla was a little bit less good than it was in the first two, but I think that was
I
just to allow more fighting, and I
yeah,
will totally let that slide because it
sure.
wasn't like so noticeable.
Yeah,
Um, really cool movie. But if you're going in it expecting to like understand it, you're in the wrong
yeah.
section of the movie theater.
They
You know,
gave up
this is to
trying to
watch
make this
things
make
go.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Just watch it, and when plot holes happen, just go, okay.
I pretty much agree. I'm gonna say 6, just because the only thing I disagree on is I actually think they stepped the CGI up with all the monsters and all the fights from King of the Monsters. It
I
was
did
like,
think Kong and Mecha looked really good. I
yeah,
thought they looked
I
great. I
honestly
just thought
thought
Godzilla didn't.
Godzilla was back to like, because when we first saw him in 2014 in the first movie, I was just like, oh yes, please, geez. Like, you guys, I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember, you were all there with me. I took you. We all went to the theater because I made
yeah.
a big deal out of it. And like when he breathed fire down that thing's throat, I was like out of my seat, like,
Oh,
fucking
everybody
get
was like,
some. Yeah,
holy shit, dude.
yeah,
That was genuinely. I think it's going to be really hard to ever top that moment. Like, no matter how little Godzilla they actually had in that movie,
Yeah.
him breathing radiation breath down the Muto's neck
Did you not think he
was
was gonna rip its jaw apart?
yeah,
Didn't see
yeah.
that. Yeah,
I
you didn't
swear to
see it
God, he was gonna
coming.
rip its head open, and then
And
he
then he
did
went,
that, and I was like,
and you were like,
oh
"Oh
my God,
man, that was the shit."
holy
Yeah,
crap,
yeah,
dude, so much cooler.
yeah,
That's what made it so cool, though, was you didn't know that was coming.
yeah,
You totally had another thing in mind, and then that happened, and you were like,
yeah,
it would be like if Goku like wound up a Kamehameha wave, and then you shot a spirit bomb out of his hands. You'd be like, what? And then it just like annihilated the fuck out of whoever it hit. Like you
yeah.
were like expecting something totally different to
Yep.
happen.
Yeah, I do think the CGI improved a little bit. This is probably the last of these, right? Like at this
I would
point,
imagine.
probably. So I think they were like, let's just go out with a bang, cool fight scenes. Let's stick to what we're good at, and let's just abandon
Yeah.
all attempt to make sense.
Who's even left? Ghidorah's dead. The dog is exploding. I think a
all the
breeze occurred.
uh,
A leaf blew by.
all the monsters are alive. Like so many of the monsters are alive still. They
Yeah.
just all bowed to Godzilla, so they're not
Yeah, that's
fucking
right.
around. So
I mean, that's what I was thinking. Like, there's no monsters who would challenge him because they. I mean, even after a certain point in the original Godzilla, they didn't. They were just like buddy buddy in a certain way.
yeah,
They weren't friends, but they knew better than to cross him. And if he was in trouble, sometimes they would just help him because it was like it's kind of what we do in real life. If the biggest guy on the playground who isn't actively an asshole is getting attacked by some assholes, there's a higher likelihood you'll help that guy just because A, he's
yeah,
big and he'll watch your back. And then, now he's definitely not going to fuck with you. So there's no monsters really left to fight. Ghidorah's dead. Mecha Godzilla's dead. That's pretty much it. The only thing left would be the classic Godzilla story of him destroying a city.
which I mean, I don't think they're gonna do with this version because they've built him up to be almost like kind of like a defender of the earth type deal and
Yeah.
whatnot.
You'd
So
have to go watch Shin Godzilla.
yeah,
If you're interested in that kind of thing, that's a good movie. But
yeah.
other than that,
I did think like that's a weird version of Godzilla. You want to talk about a weird like
bro, when he
he's got
fucking
the
turns into the guy,
or he's got the little baby Godzillas like in his
like the
growing in
monster thing they can spawn out of his body and they'll
yeah
attack people on the ground. Yeah,
yeah yeah
it's so fucked up.
yeah.
But also,
That's
the
a weird Godzilla.
metamorphosis was a cool concept, where he like the whole point of the movie is watching a creature that is infinitely changing right in front of you, and like you learned how to defeat one form, but it's a completely different
Yeah
form now and immune to everything you just created.
yeah
Really fucking scary, actually, to think about that.
yeah yeah. I agree. All right, but yeah, so that's that.
And
That's
that
the
is
end of this
Godzilla.
Godzilla franchise. I think. I
Yep.
mean, I don't know where else they could do. But all right, man.
I bet they'll still make one, but
I'm gonna hit. I'm gonna stop the recording. Stick around. I gotta show you something.
okay.
All right.